What are we doing? Okay, fine. Alright, so Styx, who at least isn't in a bathrobe in this video. Thanks for putting on a shirt. I appreciate that, Styx. Uh, Styx has a video about Sidney Powell being disavowed by the Trump legal team. Now, this, of course, comes after videos where Styx was defending Sidney and her ridiculous claims, and now Styx has to justify, okay, well, the Trump campaign itself has distanced themselves from Sidney, so what do I do to reconcile this? So let's find out how Styx is trying to deal with the problem of the Trump campaign themselves getting rid of someone he defended for being crazy. Only Facts Live, thanks for following.
Alright everyone, I'm being amused this morning by all the people talking about the Sidney Powell thing, because what happened is that the Trump campaign had to put out a presser reiterating that Sidney Powell is not technically speaking part of Trump's legal team and is acting on her own.
Oh god, let's take a look. Sidney Powell, we'll take a look at the actual statement real quick. Trump legal team disavows association with lawyer Sidney Powell. Is there a picture of the press release? No, I need a picture. Hello. Sidney Powell press release. There's a Wall Street Journal article. Do they have it? No. Politico. Someone have a copy of the actual press release. Come on. Sorry, I'm trying to find the actual press release that I'm not able to find for some reason. Trump campaign is disavowing its association with attorney Sidney Powell after the far-fetched Trump campaign Thursday press conference where she claimed without evidence that the deceased Hugo Chavez, who died 7 years ago, among others, was responsible for rigging the election. The campaign claimed that she is, quote, is not a member of the Trump legal team, end quote, even though the president and Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, had previously identified her as being on the team. Step is 1,000 eyes with 20 bits. They can't share the press release until court. Surprise evidence. In the days since the press conference, Powell has made additional unfounded claims to conservative networks, and her claims have been even questioned by Fox News' Tucker Carlson after she refused to produce her evidence on the show. Quote, Sidney Powell is practicing law on her own. She is not a member of the Trump legal team. She is also not a lawyer for the president in his personal capacity, end quote, said a statement from Giuliani and Trump campaign senior legal advisor Jenna Ellis. Quote, during Thursday's press conference, Giuliani identified Powell as a member of the team defending Mr. Trump, as the president himself identified Powell as someone working for him in the November 14th tweet. Quote, I look forward to Mayor Giuliani spearheading the legal effort to defend our right to free and fair elections. Rudy Giuliani, Joseph DeGenova, Victoria Toadsing, Sidney Powell, and Jenna Ellis, a truly great team, added to our other wonderful lawyers and representatives, Mr. Trump tweeted at the time. Powell issued this statement to CBS News, quote, I understand today's press release, she said. I will continue to represent hashtag We the People who had their votes for Trump and other Republicans stolen by massive fraud through Dominion and Smartmatic, and we will be filing suit soon. The chips will fall where they may, and we will defend the foundations of this great republic. Hashtag Kraken on steroids. On Thursday, Ellis called the team giving the press conference, which included Powell, the elite strike force team. Powell, Giuliani, and Ellis have claimed they're holding back their biggest evidence for court where they continue to lose lawsuit cases. Powell was the attorney for General Michael Flynn, the president's former national security advisor, who was fired for lying to Vice President Mike Pence about his Russian contacts and convicted of lying to the FBI about the same thing. So, she's been let go and distanced from the Trump campaign. Let's see how Styx feels about this.
Which is really, really funny, and this is why, like, When the Hammer scorecard claims came out initially, I was skeptical and said, well, it's interesting as a story, but there's no evidence of it. And QAnon is a LARP, so when Sidney Powell is retweeting stuff related to that, it's like, it's maybe not helpful.
Calling tweets about QAnon, backing it up, unhelpful is the understatement of the century. My goodness. Arcana Stamber Blackwell with 100 bits. I bought bits to tell you should cover Styx's occult stuff. It's wild. He legit believes Lovecraft stuff is real. That sounds hilarious. We'll probably do that someday. Does he have a separate channel for that? Or does he just pepper that in?
That being said, this situation is hilarious because you've got all the people that, they want Biden to win, as well as the black-pilled people talking about, oh, there's no Kraken, it's over, Trump has lost this time, and, we haven't heard that before. And I'm thinking to myself...
Because there's no Kraken. She's been let go from the legal team. The Kraken doesn't exist.
It almost looks like one of those classic situations, and I think I talked about this the other day, where Trump distracts people with shiny tinfoil while he's doing something totally different. Just like yesterday, I reported on the fact that some of the new filings that the Trump team is making have nothing to do with Dominion or anything like that. They have to do with constitutional issues. They have to do with procedural issues. They have to do with the fact that in some of these cases, it looks like the states overstepped their legal authority to actually extend mail-in voting.
Yeah, they're trying to throw everything at the wall and see if it sticks because they've already exhausted the tenuous claims that they had at best through these affidavits, and those have all been thrown out. So at this point, they have to say, okay, we don't have any evidence of any actual, wrongdoing in terms of the election, in terms of any sort of attempted fraud, because, of course, there's no evidence that happened. So now they're going, okay, what can we try and say was procedurally wrong enough that we can get election results thrown out? Which is incredibly irresponsible, and again, just throwing stuff to see what sticks. They are trying absolutely everything at this point because all the avenues they have already exhausted have been fruitless. Entirely so. Arcana Stamber Blackwell with 20 bits and a link. Let me take a look. Occult Video 1, Simon Necronomicon. Okay, I will save this under Tinfoil Tuesday stuff, and we will do this maybe tomorrow.
If that's the case, if a judge construes it in the constitutional sense, at SCOTUS or at a federal court level, and says, look, these votes aren't even valid, that can swing a state without any further ado. You don't even need election fraud at that point. So it's sort of a high...
So, Styx at this point, once again, the goalposts are ever moving. Okay? So before it was clear fraud, according to Styx, okay? It was obvious and clear fraud that they had tons of evidence of, and the Kraken is going to come out and prove it. Now that's all fake. Now that was a deception technique. And now... instead, what Styx is claiming is going to happen is that they're going to find some procedural wrongdoing constitutionally that will somehow embolden a judge to throw out the results of an election. What procedurally do you think could possibly have been done wrong that you're gonna throw out the votes of tens of millions of people and just hand an election to someone? Because that's not how elections or court works. You can't just say, I don't like the results, okay? Let me go and try and find some shit that might be questionable, and then if the one thing I said was true is true, then we just undo all the results of the election. How would that work? On what grounds would the judge decide, okay, this procedural thing was done wrong here, therefore, we're going to do the opposite of what the vote turned out to be? That doesn't make sense. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Take 256. Wait a minute. The former Venezuelan president who blew a nut on George W. Bush was behind the theft of the 2020 election? Forget Trump and his 4D chess. The Venezuelan leader was playing 100D chess.
Hybrid strategy he's using. But by and large, people never even heard about that from the lamestream media. Did you see much lamestream media reporting of the new Republican filings on that particular case in Pennsylvania? No. They were too busy talking about Rudy Giuliani sweating or Sidney Powell retweeting QAnon. It looks like the sort of situation where Trump has attempted to bait the MSM into not covering that, because if they're not covering it, they can't do like a mass debunking or something and demoralize people some more.
Dude, the mass debunking has already happened. If you're still on the Trump is gonna win this in the courts thing, you're lost. There's absolutely no amount of fact-checking or debunking that will save you from the imminent disappointment. You've clearly deluded yourselves to levels that are inconceivable to the vast majority of people. Believe what you want, but it's fruitless. You're wasting your time and you're prolonging the suffering it's going that's going to hit you when you realize that Joe Biden won. And we've known he won for weeks at this point, and you're still denying it. Guys, it was funny at first, and I have been enjoying doing the MAGA Cope videos, but at a certain point, it's just exhausting. It's funny in the way that, like, maybe for 5 seconds, a kid pouting is funny, especially if it's over something stupid and you know they're clearly wrong because they're children and they're nonsensical. So it's a little funny seeing them behave so irrationally for like 5 seconds, and then you realize, oh no, now we just have a screaming toddler that's going to irrationally yell about a thing that doesn't make any sense and they're wrong about. This is what it's like at this point, and it is endlessly frustrating. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Now I see why it took me so many tries to get that message through. Chavez's first name's the same as your dead name. Oh, okay. Daddy Sume with 20 bits. Holy shit, Hannah, I'm in the first place for bits. Bow before me, peasants.
Again, that would be classic Trump, but I'm not claiming that's the fact. I'm claiming that's a possibility. Likewise, you do realize Giuliani at that same presser, where Sidney Powell steals the show, everything short of Giuliani sweating because he happens to be standing there having to talk nonstop for a fucking hour, and obviously he's just totally lost it. He's just totally stupid and decided to dye his hair right beforehand. Oh, that Giuliani, he's known for that sort of thing. Well, he's not, but, you know, they take...
He literally did it, though. What do you mean? Giuliani's known for being stupid lately. If that's what you're saying, are you saying that people are saying it's a trope that he dyes his hair often before things? I don't think so, but it's pretty clear he did before that particular event because it was slipping off his face. You guys, I'm sure you all saw it, but just to be clear, Rudy Giuliani press conference. Let's do the sweat. That'll do. Like, this was hilarious. He was like leaking hair dye. It's so bizarre. So that's why people brought it up. Now, I get it. The memes shouldn't overshadow what's being said, but it's always going to because of the way stuff like this propagates. Like the Mike Pence fly on head thing, which it's like, oh my god, guys, I get it. Haha, it's funny for 5 seconds, but y'all punch it into the ground almost immediately. And then the fucking Saturday Night Live sketch happens, and you're like, oh my god, make it stop. Either way, the point is, yes, people cover that stuff, but that's just because people get distracted by striking visuals. It doesn't change the fact that Rudy Giuliani was off the fucking deep end during that whole thing. Thank you, Jouster Zen, for the 200 bits.
Take the bait very easily. Is showing clear evidence of fraud, at least on some level.
Again, there's been no evidence of fraud at the level these people are talking about. In fact, the 2 cases of actual voter fraud I know of from this election were both Trump supporters. Like, just putting it out there.
If not systemic rigging, we do have affidavits by poll watchers.
We have affidavits. That's all you have. It's affidavits and charts none of you understand. Failed art kid with 50 bits. Hi, Hannah. Hope you're doing well, even with the Chuds being Trump's personal bitches. Thank you. I'm doing okay.
By election officials, by U.S. postal workers, and by others that are saying that there were irregularities of one sort or another in various states. We have these affidavits.
All of which have been thrown out of court because, as it turns out, claiming, and bear in mind, these affidavits aren't things like, oh, I was informed by my superior that we need to make a bunch of fake Joe Biden ballots and get rid of these legitimate Trump votes, and I was ordered to send these to be shredded. It's nothing like that. It's like, oh, literally one of them was, I heard another poll worker say they heard a bunch of poll workers backdating ballots with no supporting evidence other than she said she heard someone say that. There were similar ones. There was one from a guy that got paid $139,000 from Veritas. Like, it's all bullshit. There's a reason that all these court cases have been thrown out, because none of these affidavits have anything resembling backing to support the claims being made. Like, affidavits, we got 100. Okay, I can bring you fucking 1,000 affidavits saying any benign nonsense. Any claim you can get affidavits for if you ask enough people. It's just frustrating to me that they're like, we got 100 Trump voters to come and say that they saw irregularities. All right. That and a couple bucks, you can maybe get a cup of coffee. I don't know. You can't just make claims, even claims under oath, and assume people to believe you without backing evidence.
What will end up happening at the court level in any filing that's not thrown out, and keep in mind, just because a filing is thrown out doesn't mean it doesn't go to a higher court anyway. If SCOTUS takes this up and looks at these affidavits and says, look, under the circumstances, because of the broadness of what's gone on, we can't allow the certification of certain states' results, you could get into a situation.
And this is the leap they're making that I think you all need to be clear on what exactly they're saying here. Their claim, based on these affidavits, which are bullshit in the first place, but the claims of some of these affidavits are things like ballots being backdated so certain mail-in ballots can be counted when they came in maybe a day or something late. I don't know. And they're saying that because certain ballots may have done that, which again, there's no evidence for outside of these affidavits. Like I said, it's all hearsay bullshit. They're saying because of that, we should therefore not only throw out the entirety of the election in that particular state, let's say it's Michigan or Georgia or Pennsylvania, they're saying we should throw away all of these votes, whether it's hundreds of thousands or millions of votes, and none of it counts, and just because these states have Republican legislatures, we should give those states to Donald Trump. That's what they're saying. There's no A to B to C. Some of these votes might have been backdated. No evidence of this. That's their claim. Without evidence, you're saying that these votes are backdated, a very small select number. Therefore, we should disenfranchise millions of voters. How do you make that connection? They're literal fucking children, but they're worse than children. They're fascist children. They're fascist children whose daddy lost the contest, and now, even though the rules were set up beforehand and everyone agreed to them, because they lost the game, they're now claiming, oh, no. You know that kid when you played games and you'd like, oh, tag, you're it, and they're like, no, I have immunity, I'm by the slide. They'll just make up rules so that they can win regardless of what's happening. This is who these fuckers grew up to be. Capitalism. A bunch of whiny, creepy fascists. It's fucking annoying. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. At this point, Trump's lawyers might as well say that these votes shouldn't count because Biden is a duty face. Yeah, it's stupid.
Where the election ends up going to essentially state legislative bodies that are overwhelmingly run by Republicans. That could end up happening. Where they end up selecting Donald Trump potentially in that situation. Now, if they go by popular vote, they wouldn't. Technically, if they look at it and they say, well, you know, there's an allegation of fraud, we have to choose what we're going to do here, but we think that Biden won it anyway, they could choose Biden. Then, by the way, it would be all over. Biden wouldn't even have an asterisk after his presidency because it wouldn't even...
There's no asterisk after his presidency now! I know you're so desperate. You're so desperate to not want to admit that Donald Trump lost. But please, for the sake of yourself, stop wearing the bathrobe in half your videos, and please get in touch with reality. It's been trying to get in touch with you for weeks. For the love of God, just answer the phone and let reality know you're okay.
Even be related to fraud, it'd be a decision made by these legislative groups. However, is that likely to happen? I think it's more likely that this plays out largely in SCOTUS. And Giuliani sits there for half an hour reading off affidavits. You've got video and photographic evidence of shenanigans going on. And thousands of people claiming that there were things going on. And these people, in many cases, are officials. These are people that were in proximity to what was going on at polling places and the...
Yes. Yep. They're right-wing people who were volunteering for the Trump campaign to either go and watch the ballot count or to actually count ballots themselves. No one else in the system seemed to think anything's wrong, and election officials have said everything's fine. But because a bunch of partisan hacks have come forward and put their little blurb into these affidavits, all of a sudden, we're supposed to disenfranchise millions of voters because Donald Trump is a pouty baby man. Fucking ridiculous. Tired Park with 20 bits, but Hannah, it's statistically impossible for Biden to get more votes because it hurts my feelings. Yeah. Title Bell with 20 bits, what does he mean it might go to SCOTUS? He thinks that any of these lawsuits, which have been thrown out, he thinks they're going to get appealed up to SCOTUS. I don't think they will, but I guess we'll see.
Mail and so forth, that is of import. That in combination with the potential in multiple states of a constitutional argument whereby, for instance, with Act 77 in Pennsylvania, the allegation is that the standing legislation, which was passed by a Republican-controlled legislature, not that that matters, as we've seen with people like Romney, they don't necessarily are Trump fans. They pass legislation. The Trump team is arguing the legislation is null and void. They're arguing that it's null and void. Any mail-in ballots from after November 3rd cannot legally be counted because it countermands the Pennsylvania state constitution. That's basically what they're arguing. Whether or not a federal judge or the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania agrees doesn't matter if it goes before SCOTUS. SCOTUS, I believe, would find in Trump's favor there. It's a clear-cut argument. The idea that Sidney Powell falling out of favor because she decided to go haywire at a press conference and make claims about voting systems or QAnon or something that, you know, people find a little bit kooky, that doesn't matter. It's a distraction. And
it matters. It means that the people who are supposedly working on Trump's orchestrated victory after the election have no control over the narrative. It shows that they're hiring nutbag fringe people because they are out of legitimate options for legal recourse. Because lawyers who are legitimate, who've actually looked at these cases, have tried and failed to put these before judges and then left the Trump campaign's legal team because of it. We saw this in some of the Pennsylvania cases. The law firm that was representing Trump in those pulled out. The Trump legal team is a mess. I don't know how much clearer it can be. Like, Rudy Giuliani, who held a press conference in front of a lawn care business next to a porn shop because because Trump tweeted about the Four Seasons Hotel and then the hotel said no, is in charge of this legal team. Like, I cannot reiterate how stupid this coup attempt is. Why is Styx surprised? Why are you continually surprised when the people who are going to bat for your fascist daddy are complete idiots? Like, you can try and construe it all you want. Oh, it's 5D chess. It's not. They just suck. They just suck.
it's probably on purpose. Yeah, it probably is just Trump being Trump. And he's done this before. It's like... you remember with the Omarosa thing, where Omarosa was saying weird shit about Trump, and at the time I said, well, I think that she might be on his payroll still. She literally, like, gets paid to play the anti-Trump villain thing to solidify his support, number one, and to distract people, number two. I even thought that maybe Stormy Daniels fell into that category. I don't think so. Although she didn't she end up suing Avenatti? Didn't she stab him in the back afterwards? And now I think isn't he in jail? He got put in jail on, what was it, fraud charges or something? It seems to happen an awful lot. Bolton. I always thought that when Bolton was chosen, it was 4D chess. And I know that term, some people that are more black-pilled will be like, well, there never was 4D chess. Trump really is a moron. Yes, of course. He becomes a multi-billionaire, gains the presidency, runs rings around his opponents for years, but now all of a sudden he's a dumbass in retro.
No, he's been a dumbass the whole time. Have you heard of failing upward? Have you heard of the term failing upward? Donald Trump is dumb as fuck. He's incredibly stupid. And the thing is, it's a multi-factor problem for Trump. Because on the one hand, I don't think there's anything like physically wrong with him. I think he's completely capable of learning. I think it's a problem of never being told no. And I talked about this the other day on stream, that like a lot of the reasons human beings grow and change as individuals and learn to have sort of like moral fortitude, any sort of like personal growth you have in terms of learning to work with others and learning to operate within systems comes with bumping into obstacles, right? You want something, someone else with similar power levels to you, or even higher or lower power levels, want something different. You compromise, and that's going to be relative to who's, more powerful in the situation, right? Or how much empathy you are willing to give to their point of view, or whatever, right? We all have to learn to work with other people and work within these systems, because we don't have millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars just to pay people off or sue them or whatever. Donald Trump has never learned these things. All he knows how to do is to yell at people and tell him he's gonna sue them, which we see all the time. It's literally what he's doing now. He's facing a loss, and instead of conceding respectably, like like every election, instead he's gonna cry and scream, blame other people, and sue, because that's always worked for him, right? He gets very far because he was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. Not even silver. Fucking gold. That man has never had to worry about a single meal in his entire life. This is a man who has never ever struggled. And because of that, he's pretty dumb. He's pretty dumb. He's pretty stupid. And on top of that, you have potential mental decline coming from old age anyway. Yeah, he's just a moron. And I know Styx is like, well, look at how rich he is. Yeah, his wealth is part of the reason he's stupid. Stupid people are rich all the time. Look at Tate. Tate's wealthy. He's also an idiot. Hairiest Nick, thank you for subscribing with Prime.
Okay. Totally believable. I thought that he chose Bolton basically to, as a sort of veiled threat to the third world, stay in line, because now basically tricking them into thinking he's going to do a 180 and bomb people. Well, he threw Bolton under the bus too.
Fucking yikes. If you at any point believe that a political candidate or a politician is putting in someone in some position because they believe that the threat of that person in their position will implicitly make third world or developing countries believe that you are about to bomb them or invade them, then that politician is a shitbag. If you are using the threat of the largest military on the planet coming to fuck you up the way that America's military is one to do, then fuck you. Anyone who thinks that's an appropriate strategy is such a shit. What an absolute shit. And yes, Trump did literally drone strike an Iranian general. Yes, he's bombed. He bombed that airfield. I'm aware.
Haven't heard much about his book lately, but it was a bombshell, just like Trump's tax returns that the New York Times started talking about a few months ago. Where'd that story go? I thought it was earth-shattering. I
agree. It is earth-shattering. Another fucking billionaire has paid no taxes. I'm shocked. And hey, Styx, I do think that may have had some sort of material effect, considering Trump lost the election. Something to consider.
We were going to get evidence that Trump lied and cheated on his taxes. Where's the evidence, dude? The story goddamn disappeared.
The irony of Styx in a video trying to promote the idea that there's voter fraud, telling other people to provide evidence is, again, exhausting. This is all exhausting.
This happens over and over again. By the way, the legacy media would love nothing better than for Trump to end up managing to flip a couple of states and gain the election, because then it would be the ultimate comeback story, and they could complain about election interference and coups and stuff like that. And they'd have good stuff to write about for 4 years, as opposed to Biden. Then they have to do fluff pieces again, like they did for 8 years under Obama. But no, the Sidney Powell saga continues, and she's she's freelance apparently. She supports Trump, and she claims there's evidence of millions of fraudulent votes. This falls in line vaguely with what Giuliani said, but when Giuliani was talking about this, I got the sense that he was talking about the Pennsylvania's filings related to the state constitution. Well, yeah, you do have hundreds of thousands of fraudulent ballots, if you assume that those ballots are illegal to begin with because the Constitution countermands Act 77.
Wow, the amount of stretching and pliability he's willing to apply to Rudy Giuliani's words. Absolutely astronomical. No, Rudy Giuliani was not playing 5D chess, or 8D backgammon, or 12th D high lie, whatever the fuck you want to say he's doing when he says there are hundreds of thousands of fraudulent ballots. He literally is just trying to delegitimize people who didn't vote for Donald Trump. They're just trying to overthrow the election by getting rid of any Biden votes they possibly can. He's not literally thinking, well, under this, I believe that mail-in votes shouldn't count, which is fucked up in the first place, by the way. Guys, mail-in voting has been a thing since after the Civil War. It is not a new thing. It is fine. And these people trying to undermine the election by claiming that millions of people should have their votes thrown away is so... It's not fasci. It's fascist. It's just fascist.
Nothing funny about
they want to take over the government and be authoritarian and never let anyone outside of the party win an election ever again. That's horrifying. Daddy Sume with 20 bits. Paradox, Billiards, Vost. Oh, God. Paradox. Hold on.
Anything but inspect this temple of capitalism.
The Mannequin, thank you for rating. Daddy Sume, Paradox, Billiards, Vostroyan Roulette, Fourth Dimensional Hypercube, Chess Strip Poker.
Technically, they're fraudulent. They were officially printed. Now they're starting to talk about how it looked like some of the ballots that were turned in were pristine. Like it looked like they were printed up on demand. And so you have all these full audits.
Because as we all know, between when you get the ballot, you just carry it around for a week, right? So it looks all grubby and dirty. It's not like you literally just get the ballot, fill it in, and immediately put it back in an envelope. Or if you do it in person, like I did, it's not like you get the ballot, immediately go to the table, fill it out, and then put it in the machine. Of course it looks pristine, you fucking idiot. It's a ballot. You don't take it outside with you and roll in the mud. What are you talking about? Alabale Soul, thank you for the 20 bits. Hey, Hannah, hello.
Going on, including of signatures. I think they're gonna find...
Oh, shit. Hold on. Trump's administration officially authorizes Biden transition. Oh, good. This comes as Biden's transition has been hampered by the GSA amid Trump falsely claiming victory and fighting the certification of votes in several swing states. With the backing of President Donald Trump, the head of the General Services Administration informed President-elect Joe Biden on Monday that the official governmental transition process has been approved. GSA Administrator Emily Murphy, after weeks of delay, said in a letter to Biden that he is now able to access millions of dollars in federal funds and other resources to begin his transition of power. Trump, in a pair of tweets, vowed to continue his legal fight, but said, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regard to initial protocols and have told my team to do the same. I want to thank Emily Murphy at GSA for her steadfast dedication and loyalty to our country. She has been harassed, threatened, and abused, and I do not want to see this happen to her family or employees of GSA. Our case strongly continues. We will keep up the good... Hold on, let me click on this. Can I just go to the... We will keep up the good fight, and I believe we will prevail. Nevertheless, in the best interest of our country, I am recommending that Emily and her team do what needs to be done with regard to initial protocols and have told my team to do the same. Oh, Donald Trump didn't write this tweet. You know how I can tell Donald Trump didn't write this tweet? Use the word protocols, which I don't think Trump knows the word protocols. He also used an ellipsis correctly. And he also said, in the best interests of our country, which I don't think Trump is capable of understanding either. The Biden campaign celebrated the news in a statement. Today's decision is a needed step to begin tackling the challenges facing our nation, including getting the pandemic under control and our economy back on track. Biden transition advisor Johannes Abraham said, the final decision is a definitive administrative action to formally begin the transition process with federal agencies. That's good. I'm glad. I'm curious what Styx is going to say about this shit.
That there's a lot of problems in there. Maybe not even enough to flip states, but...
Trump right now? I shouldn't play that.
As of
copyright.
But I think that at the end of this, regardless of what happens, Americans are going to have a bit more evidence that our election system is fundamentally broken. And it is. And by the way, leftist groups reported on that widely in years past. In fact, after every fucking election, regardless of who won, well, there were all these irregularities. This voting system's wrong. That one's wrong. Now, all of a sudden, it's all ironclad and none of those things exist anymore in their minds. Do you think that that's a little bit suspicious? I certainly do. That's about all.
You're right, I haven't seen JoJo. I'm not a weeb. So Styx is, still in denial. Frustrating, but not unexpected. So, this guy, Bryson Gray, is a rapper for Trump. Here's a rap he did. It's a Christmas rap about how he thinks Trump won. Devious Children with 30 bits. This is apparently the official letter. Saw it over Twitter. Is that the letter of... Dear Mr. Biden, as the Administrator of the U.S. General Services Administration, I have the ability under the Presidential Transition Act of 1963, as amended, to make certain post-election resources and services available to assist in the event of a presidential transition. See 3 U.S.C., blah, blah. I take the role seriously, and because of recent developments involving legal challenges and certifications of election results, I am transitioning this letter today to make those resources and services available to you. I have dedicated much of my adult life to public service, and I have always strived to do what is right. Please know that I came to my decision independently based on the law of available facts. I never directly or indirectly pressured by any executive branch official, including those who work at the White House or GSA, with regard to the substance and timing of my decision. That seems like he's trying to cover for someone, but okay. To be clear, I did not receive any direction to delay my determination. I did, however, receive threats online, by phone, and by mail directed at my safety, my family, my staff, and even my pets, in an effort to coerce me into making this determination prematurely. Even in the face of 1,000 threats, I always remain committed to uphold the law. Oh, fuck off. Do your job. Contrary to media reports and insinuations, my decision was not made out of fear of favoritism. It's literally just this person trying to fucking save face. Fuck this person.